writers, thank you so much for joining me. Cruz here with another edition of Write Writers, but we're looking at the GED in this one. And so I hope that you are able to stay with us with the GED and looking specifically at the social studies sample test. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the science section. And I have not forgotten, Right Writers, that I will be doing a video on the language arts essay section. And there's also a short 10-minute writing task in the science section, which we will get to in our next video. So this video is solely focused on the social studies sample test. Let's go ahead and take a look at it and see what we can expect for the GED social studies section. Okay, the first thing I want you to see, Right Writers, is again, these are only just 9 practice questions. And so we will review these questions one at a time. So this first page is a sample of a chart on the U.S. 4 methods of amending the U.S. Constitution. We have page 2, focused on the 17th Amendment. And this third page is an excerpt from an article published in the Washington Times in 1908. So here we have a question which focuses on which statement correctly describes an important way that the process of amending the U.S. Constitution is different from the process of creating federal laws. So, definitely, we want to make sure that we look through the information and make a decision on how the process of amending the Constitution is different from the process of creating federal laws. So, it's almost like a compare and contrast question, right, writers? We are moving on now to the second question. The second question focuses on which concern about the original method of selecting senators is implied in the excerpt. So we need to go to the excerpt and we need to focus on what this particular piece of information is sharing with us. We do not want to look at other pieces of information. In addition, right writers, the question is asking for what is implied in the excerpt, which means the information is not given in the passage. We have to extract what is given or our own opinion based on what is given. So watch out, right writers, for these kinds of questions with implied, what is inferred, what can we conclude, because that lets us know the answer is not in the passage. Now, in this question, it is asking us, what does the word convention mean in both the chart and the 17th Amendment passage? Notice how this is sort of a similarities type of question where you have to figure out what does convention mean, not just on this page, but also in the 17th Amendment passage. And it has to apply to both of them, not just one of them. So watch out for questions involving vocabulary in context and what the vocabulary word means, and not just one piece of information, but in this case, 2 pieces of information. This next question focuses on both graphic literacy, and that's on your work keys assessments, and also on a short passage or a paragraph involving women's voting rights and also the number of women in the United States House of Representatives from 1917 to 2011. And so here we see a question on what do the passage and graph indicate about the US or about the United States in the 20th and 21st centuries rather. And so we're having to look at both pieces of information and then make a decision on what it says about both of them, which really means we are inferring based on the information, and the information is not in the passage. We just have to sort of get an opinion or have a basic understanding of what is being implied based on the information. Tough question here on question number 4, again, with just the information that's provided. This next one is focused more on the chart itself because it's asking type the appropriate session of Congress in the box below. This does not really have to do with the text. It really has to do with your understanding of reading of charts and graphs and understanding that which or the number of women representatives who served in the Congress was twice the number of women representatives who served in the 101st Congress. So this requires you to do some comparing and contrasting, understanding what twice the number means, checking out where the 101st Congress is, which would be right here, and then sort of deducing or deducting about where twice the number of women served here. So here we can see the number is almost 30. And so we have to sort of go across and say 30 and go, okay, where is the Congress where we see pretty much close to 60, as close to it? Because notice how this is under 30. And so for me, it's not going to be over here because that's over 70, nor is it going to be over here above 60. It's really going to be just below 60 to really serve as our number. And then we have to go down here and figure out which Congress it is. So notice the number of steps it takes, right, writers, just to answer that question. And that was question number 5. Moving on to the next question. Which statement explains the number of women serving in the U.S. House of Representatives during the 65th congressional session? And so you have to kind of go down here and basically explains why that is. Again, a little bit of inferring, and you have to know what was happening during that time period. Because again, we're talking about 1917 to 2011. Then we're moving on to another question having to do this time with understanding the definition of sustainability, which they have here in this box. And then you're asked which 3 graphs relate to the concept of sustainability. And then click on the graph that best connects with, again, sustainability. Notice how there are 5 graphs here, and you're making decisions based on the text evidence, which is provided above, right, writers. Now, moving on to the next question. In the next question, we're using information below from the Congressional Research Service to complete the graph. And this is information of how many billions of dollars we spend in the military on major 20th century wars. And then we're asked to construct the graph based on the information. So this is more of an application based question, and we can see that from 1965, and I'm just looking at the last sentence, right, writers? From 1965 to 1975, the years spanning the Vietnam War, the U.S. spent $111 billion on military efforts. Then I go over here, and then I see where 100 billion is, and I've got to go above that amount, just above it, and I have to make sure it's under the Vietnam War. So if I click on this one, you can see that it's definitely over 100 and just over 100, and it's not reaching 150 billion. So again, more of an application based question, right, writers? Moving on to the last question. And please stay tuned, right, writers, for future videos on the science section and then also the writing sections in the English and in the science sections of the GED. Now for question number 9. Notice, right, writers, how we have very little information, and we're asked much of the 20th century was marked by the Cold War between the ideals of capitalism and communism. Drag each phrase into the correct box to show whether it is associated with capitalism or communism. And so this is one of those where they just expect you to have the background knowledge to understand the difference between capitalism and communism. And so, right, writers, again, just a glimpse at sample questions on the GED for the social studies question. I hope that this was helpful in ensuring your success. And if you have not received your high school diploma and you are waiting to take your GED, I ask you, what are you waiting for? Take that GED, and do not worry that it's been forever since you've been in school. Take these practice tests and get your GED so that you can increase your income, be proud of what you've accomplished, demonstrate your accomplishment with your children and your families, and again, ensure a path to success in your life. Thank you so much, Right Riders, for watching this video. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I will see you all again very soon, next Tuesday to be exact. So I'm going to click next to continue, Right Riders. Take care, and I will see you again real soon. Love you guys. Bye bye.